الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد, continuing with 30 themes from 30 verses, and we are discussing the beautiful names of Allah Azza wa Jal. Every day taking some of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we will talk about the beautiful name of Allah, Al-Ahad, the unique one, and Al-Waahid, the one. And as for the beautiful name Al-Ahad, the unique one, then this is mentioned once in the book of Allah, in the Qur'an. Where is it mentioned? Everyone should have this answer. Na'am, ahsantum. Surah Al-Ikhlas. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Say, He is Allah, the one. And we will discuss the meaning of this. The meaning of Al-Ahad, the unique one, which is from the beautiful names of Allah Azza wa Jal. As for the name Al-Waahid, then it is mentioned in more than 20 places in the Qur'an. From the places that this name of Allah Azza wa Jal is mentioned is fi Surah Yusuf, in Surah Yusuf. When Yusuf, he said, Ya sahibay sijni, O companions, my two companions of the prison. Ya sahibay sijni, my two companions in prison. أَأَرْبَابٌ مُتَفَرِّقُونَ خَيْرٌ, are the different lords better? أَمِ اللَّهُ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ, or Allah, the one, the irresistible, the supreme. And look, subhanAllah, Yusuf in prison, calling to the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal alone, warning against shirk, calling to tawheed, even in prison, teaching them, that Allah Azza wa Jal is al-Waahid, the one, al-Qahhar, the supreme, irresistible. Know these beautiful names of Allah Azza wa Jal and worship Him alone. Al-Waahid, the one who deserves to be worshipped alone. Ya sahibay as-sijni أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. Naam. What does it mean when we say that from the beautiful names of Allah is Al-Ahad? Al-Imām As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he explains, and we'll read his words inshaAllah. Al-Imām As-Sa'di rahimahullah, he said, Al-Waahid Al-Ahad, the one, the unique one, هو الذي توحد بجميع الكمالات, is the one who alone is perfect with all attributes of perfection. The one, the unique one, is the one who alone is perfect with all attributes of perfection. وتفرد بكل كمال ومجد وجلال. He alone possesses every aspect of perfection, majesty, glory, beauty, praise, wisdom, mercy. And other than that, from the attributes of perfection, فَلَيْسَ لَهُ فِيهَا مَثِيلٌ وَلَا نَظِيرٌ. There's nothing like Him in any of this. He has no equal, and nothing is comparable to Him in any way. Al-Waahid Al-Ahad, the one, the unique one. As-Sa'di rahimahullah continued, he said, for Al-Ahad fi hayatihi. He, Allah, He is one in His fi hayatihi, in His life, because He's the all-living, and His life is perfect. He is one as it relates to His self-sufficiency. He is one as it relates to His self-sufficiency, knowledge, power, greatness, majesty, beauty, praise, wisdom, mercy, and all His attributes. موصوفا بغاية الكمال. He possesses absolute perfection. Al-Waahid, al-Ahad, the one, the unique one. He is the possessor of absolute perfection and its pinnacle in all his attributes. And then As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala goes on to say what? فَيَجِبُ عَلَى الْعَبِيدِ. It is obligatory upon the servant to what? To single him out alone with everything that belongs to him. عقدا, in belief, وقولا, in statements, وعملا, in actions, بأن يعترفوا بكماله المطلق. It is obligatory upon the servants to believe and affirm his oneness in their belief, statement and actions by believing in his absolute perfection. And that he alone is singled out with this wahdaniyah, this oneness. وَيُفْرِدُوهُ بِأَنْوَاعِ الْعِبَادَةِ. And they must single him out alone with all worship. Yes. They must single him out alone with all worship. This belief necessitates that they single Al-Ahad, the unique one, Al-Waahid, the one that they single him out with all worship. And brothers and sisters, Surah Al-Ikhlas, the Prophet ﷺ informed us that it is equivalent to how much of the Qur'an? A third. Ahsantum. A third of the Qur'an. Why? لأنها, because this surah, Surah Al-Ikhlas, أخلصت لبيان أسماء الرب الحسنى وصفاته العظيمة العليا. It is solely and purely dedicated to explaining the beautiful names and attributes of Allah. This surah is solely and purely dedicated to explaining the beautiful names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. Does anyone know, and I've mentioned it in previous classes, any of the reasons why this surah was revealed? Does anyone know?
No.
Why?
They was asking Prophet Sallallahu about Allah to describe him or something like that.
Ahsant, na'am. That comes in a Tirmidhi, Habidakum Allah. And other than a Tirmidhi, the polytheists, they said to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Unsub lana rabbak." Mention to us the origins of your Lord. Describe for us your Lord. Describe for us your Lord. Challenging the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. "Unsub lana rabbak." So they said to the Prophet, the polytheists, challenging him, trying to catch him out. Describe for us your Lord. Tell us the origin of your Lord. And this was revealed. Allah revealed, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is Allah, the one, Allahu Samad. Surah Al-Ikhlas. And that's the beauty of Al-Islam, ikhwan. It is about our belief in Allah, the oneness of Allah. Naam, and our worship of Allah alone without any partners. If you look at other people, subhanallah, you don't find that. They don't even, some of them rarely talk about these type of topics. As I mentioned in the past, the Hebrew Israelites, all they talk about, we are the chosen people, we are the chosen people. Beyond that what? Beyond that what? And why are you the chosen people? Because you don't behave like them and you do not have the beliefs of them. You do not behave like them, nor do you have the beliefs of them. It's based upon qawmiyya asabiyya. Likewise, how many people embrace Islam because the concept of the Trinity, 3 in 1, is illogical? How many people? But Islam is simple. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is Allah, he is one. He is Allah, he is one. Al-Ahad, the unique one. Al-Waahid, the one. Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh, Habibullah, explaining as well this name Al-Ahad. Sheikh Salih al-Sheikh, Habibullah, explaining the meaning of this name Al-Ahad. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. He said, يعني أحد في ربوبيته. He is one in his lordship. Look at the meaning of this, ikhwan. One name of Allah, Al-Ahad. Look at the deep meaning of it. Look how this belief will make a person firm, and we'll talk about that later on, inshaAllah. He said, أَحَدٌ فِي رُبُوبِيَّتِهِ. Naam, Allah is one in His Lordship. No one gives life except Him. No one brings about death except Him. No one causes illness except Him. No one can enrich anyone except Him. No one can heal except Him. No one can raise except Him. No one can lower except Him. No one can give honor except Him. No one can humiliate except Him. No one has control over the affair except Him. For al-Ahad fi rububiyyati. He is one. He is the unique one in His Lordship. Subhanallah. We'll talk about that, how that will affect a person's outlook later on. Likewise, كَذَلِكَ وَأَحَدٌ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ وَصِفَاتِهِ. When you say al-Ahad, the unique one, He is one in His beautiful names and perfect attributes. There's nothing like Him. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing like Him. تبارك وتعالى. هو الأحد. He is the unique one. Al-Waahid. لا مثيل له في أسمائه وصفاته. There is nothing like Him. There is nothing comparable to Him in His names and His attributes. Likewise, كذلك هو أحد في ألوهيته وأحد في استحقاقه العبادة فكل عبادة. نعم. Likewise, He is one in His right to be worshipped alone. He is one. That is why when you see people worshipping other than Allah, they don't understand the names of Allah. They don't understand. They don't understand the basics. How can you say, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ? He is Allah. He is the one. But you call upon other than Allah. You have people on the internet now arguing about, is it permissible to call upon the angels or call upon the jinn, and creating qalqala and confusion about these topics. They don't understand Surah Al-Ikhlas. Come off the internet. If you understood قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say He is Allah, the one, Al-Ahad, the unique one, it will be clear to you. We do not call upon anything or anyone besides Allah Azza wa Jal. It will be clear to you that we only call upon Allah. The Sheikh, he continued, he said, نعم فكل عبادة توجه بها الناس إلى صنم. Every act of worship directed to an idol or a statue, whether that be a stone or a tree, or a wali, a righteous servant, or a prophet, or an angel, or a jinn, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ بَاطِلَ وَظُلْمٌ وَالطُّغْيَانٌ. That worship, it is false, it is oppression, and it is transgression, and it is rejected. لأن الله أحد في ألوهيته. Because Allah is one in His sole right to be worshipped. فلا أحد يستحق العبادة إلا هو. No one deserves worship except Him. تبارك وتعالى. Look at that, brothers and sisters. Just from knowing that, it becomes clear to the servant. Just from knowing that. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say He is Allah the One. So from the beautiful names of Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad. Now how does this affect a person in their conduct and their behavior? And I want to read a story, Ikhwan, from the ahadith that we find now. And this is from the narration. This is in Sunan Ibn Majah, bi isnadin Hassan. Also in the Musnad of Imām Ahmad. This narration highlights the importance of knowing the names of Allah. And when you know the names of Allah, the way Allah has commanded, how it should affect you. Bilal radiallahu anhu, the Abyssinian slave, who was freed by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. When he was in Mecca, Bilal didn't have any tribe to protect him. He didn't have anyone to defend him. And the polytheists, the mushrikun, they were zalama. They were tyrants and oppressors. Now, they were tyrants and they were oppressors. The mushrikun, they were tyrants and they were oppressors. What they used to do to those companions, the followers of the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca, who did not have a tribe or a people to defend them, they would make them wear armor, and they would put them in the sun to bake, wal-'iyadu billah. Imagine that. Because they said La ilaha illallah, because they believed in the tawheed of Allah. None has the right to be worshipped in truth except Allah. The polytheists, they used to put them out in the baking sun, and they used to force them to wear chainmail, meaning armor, torturing them. Bilal radiallahu anhu, he did not care. Bilal, فَإِنُّ هَانَتْ عَلَيْهِ نَفْسُهُ فِي اللَّهِ. He did not care what happened to himself for the sake of Allah. فَإِنُّ هَانَتْ عَلَيْهِ نَفْسُهُ فِي اللَّهِ وَهَانَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ. And he wasn't respected by the people. So what they did, so they gave Bilal, أخذوه, they took him, فَعَطَوْهُ إِلَى الْوِلْدَانِ. They gave him to the children, and the children would drag him through the streets. When Bilal was being dragged through the streets, he would say, Ahadun Ahad. The unique one. Allah is the unique one. Allah is the unique one. And he was firm. He wouldn't, look, a slave at that time, being tortured, being persecuted, dragging him through the streets. No one at that time to protect him and defend him. But he knew Allah Azza wa Jal would protect him, and Allah Azza wa Jal would free him, and Allah Azza wa Jal, the affairs with him from the beginning and at the end. Bilal would say, Ahadun Ahad. So they tried to crush his spirit, but he had the heart of a lion. Why? Because he had the correct belief. They tried to crush him through torture. Can any of you imagine that? Being put in metal armor, steel, in the baking sun in Arabia, to bake. And then they give you to the children to drag you around the streets, treating you worse than an animal. And still, he was saying, Ahadun Ahad. The pain to his body, it didn't matter, because the belief conquered everything. That which was in his heart, subhanallah, allowed him to endure that punishment. That is why Bilal radiallahu anhu, his footsteps were heard in paradise. His footsteps were heard in paradise. Now compare Bilal to what you have today. The smallest doubt comes to some people and they're shaken, confused, have doubts. Or the weakest desire and lust is presented to them and they fall victim. Look at Bilal radiallahu anhu. Him screaming out when they were dragging him. Bilal, illa Bilalan, hanat alayhi nafsahu fillah. He was willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of Allah. Wahana ala qawmi. And he wasn't respected by the people. He had no defenders, no helpers from the people, no protectors. Mushrikun of Quraysh, they had no respect for him because he was a slave at that time. فَأَخَذُوهُ, they took him. فَأَعْطَوْهُ al-Wildan, they gave him to the children. The children, they would drag him through the streets of Mecca. But Bilal, he would scream out, Ahadun Ahad, a manifestation of what? Tawheed. He is Allah, the unique one. He is Allah, the unique one. Tawheed in action, brothers and sisters. This is when someone really understands Tawheed. Not that you read Thalathatul Usul and then all of a sudden you're confused when somebody says, you know, Thalathatul Usul, Kitab al-Tawheed, they're not going to change our condition. Now you're confused. But all they do is talk about Tawheed and you start repeating that ridiculous statement. You're confused. This shows, ikhwan, that even belief in Allah, belief in His Lordship, belief in His names and attributes, belief that only He has the right to be worshipped alone without any partners. It liberates a person from slavery, even if they're in shackles and bonds. Why? Because they're not a slave to any of the creation. They're a slave to Allah. And again, remember that line from Ibn al-Qayyim when he said, هربوا من الرق الذي خلقوا له فبلوا برق النفس والشيطان. He said they run away from being servants to Allah, meaning the disbelievers. But they were afflicted with being slaves to their souls and to the devil. Bilal was liberated from slavery. He was free. Free why? Because he had a tawheed. So they might imprison your body, but they can never imprison your soul and your mind. Yes, belief that Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Ahad, Al-Waahid, the unique one, the one, necessitates and causes the servant to worship Allah alone without any partners. Likewise, the belief that Allah is Al-Ahad, the unique one, Al-Waahid, the one, it will give strength and resilience at difficult times, like it gave Bilal strength when he was dragged through the streets and he was tortured in the baking sun. Person will be firm. That person will be firm. Likewise, it will make them fearless. They won't fear the creation. I'm going to do this to you because you believe in Allah. You will not fear them because you know Allah Azza wa Jal, because you know Allah is Al-Ahad, the unique one, the one, and you only fear Him. Also, it will result in what? That you are content with the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal, because you know that He controls everything and nothing happens except that He wills it, tabaraka wa ta'ala. So you are content with the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal. Also, if you understand that Allah is Al-Ahad, the unique one, Al-Waahid, the one, you will always give precedence to the deen over the dunya. You will give precedence to the religion, the akhirah, over the dunya. Because you will know that this dunya is temporary. But you know that the akhirah, the hereafter, it will last forever. And you will know that you will have to face Al-Ahad, Al-Waahid, the one, the unique one. Therefore, a person will focus upon pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal. You won't be caught up in the dunya. Just because someone's doing something on IG, all of a sudden now you have to cloud chase. Or you're doing exactly the same thing, like sheep. How many people are like sheep, ikhwan? Yes. Again, when you know the names and attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal, you will not be a sheep. You will have your own mind to determine what is good and what is bad. When you know that Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Ahad, Al-Waahid, Na'am, you will stand for justice and reject oppression. And other than that, just from knowing one of the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla, Al-Ahad, Al-Waahid, those two names. Al-Ahad, the unique one, and Al-Waahid. That's why you have brothers, they're known as Abdul Waahid, the servant, the slave of the one. Abdul Ahad, the slave of the unique one. Again, highlighting the importance of knowing the names and attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. How many names have we covered so far in these lessons? I've got 10, I've got 8, I've got 9. Just waiting for 11. You got 8? Faddal, who can? Faddal. Huh? Yeah, all of them. Faddal. Al-Ghafur, 1. The all-forgiving. Ar-Rahim, the 2nd. The most merciful. Al-Hakim, slow down, slow down. Al-Hakim, the all-wise, 3. Al-Alim, the all-knowing. Al-Razaq, the all-provider. Al-Hafiz, the protector, the guardian. Al-Aziz, the almighty. Al-Sami', the all-hearing. And today, Al-Ahad, the unique one, and Al-Waahid, the one. So that's 10. 10 names from the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla we've discussed so far. Again, brothers and sisters, learn these names. Memorize these names. Memorize them. Understand them. Act accordingly. Now remember, man ahsaha dakhal al-jannah. Whoever learns them, memorizes them, acts according to them, they will go to Jannah. They will go to paradise. Look, Bilal, he's from the people of paradise, meaning he's guaranteed Jannah. Guaranteed. He knew the names of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Look, and it was in their hearts. Yes, they memorized them, they learned them, and they acted in accordance to that. Bilal is guaranteed paradise. That is why, brothers and sisters, our heroes are not the heroes of the streets. Don't tell me about no gangster. Don't tell me about, most finest. That's why, isn't it getting old and boring that we have podcasts with ex-criminals and gangsters? Haven't we heard enough of them stories? Don't you want something new? Don't you want something new? I'm tired of hearing about gangsters. All of a sudden, Big Meech comes home, is he a rat, is he not a rat? Who cares? Who cares? Our heroes are the prophets and the messengers. Our heroes are the companions. Our heroes are the tabi'un. Our heroes are the scholars of Islam. Our heroes are the righteous. Your hero should be your father who takes care of you and your mother who raised you. If you're not tired of it yet, and look, that mentality, because some people, their heroes are the mujrimun. Look, some people, your kids can't even go into the street without fearing that one of them is going to get killed. Your children can't even go to the store. You're scared they're going to get chased home by a mob. All of this is engineered by the devil, the shaitan, to enslave. Some people, yes, they think they're free, but they're slaves. And they don't even realize. That's the worst type of slavery, when you don't know you're a slave. You're a slave. Some people, they don't even leave their area. Some people never been on a plane. They've never even seen the world. They're enslaved to a block. Every day, wake up first thing in the morning, outside, on the same corner, day in, day out. It's like there's a chain on that block, but the chain is a mental slavery, and they can't even recognize it. That's the worst type of slavery. At least the one who was a slave, he knew that he was enslaved with chains. And if he had the opportunity, he would run. Some people, the shaitan, the devil has fooled some people, they don't even know that they're slaves. Slaves to their soul and the diseased and the cursed dunya. Slaves of the streets, and they don't even know it. How do you escape that type of slavery? Naam, knowing Allah, knowing the names of Allah, knowing the perfect attributes of Allah, and implementing that in our lives. That's how we get away from that. And even if they try and keep us down, even if they were to imprison us, even if they were to enslave us, we would still be free. So yes, when we look around us, those people on IG that are boasting, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're slaves. Who's spending hundreds of thousands on plastic surgery, and some people are dying under the knife just so that they can all look like robots? All looking the same. Slaves. Slaves to the dunya. How do we escape that? Knowing Allah, knowing the attributes of Allah, knowing the names of Allah, learning our religion. This is where it starts with tarbiyah. And then people will stand up. Yes, when it's time to stand for what is correct, yes, you won't fear the blame of the blamers. You're not going to fear anyone. Everyone's going to die. It's just how you die. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless us all with a good ending upon Tawheed and Sunnah. And may Allah Azza wa Jal make us individuals who sacrifice for the deen of Allah. We'll stop there with Jazakumullah khairan wa barakallahu feekum.